welcome to the Mind Cut series.
Yeah, welcome.
You're likely here because, well, you want to get straight to the point, right?
Yeah.
Get the insights that really count without wading through tons of info.
And that's exactly what we aim for.
Today, we're doing a deep dive. It's all about human behavior negotiation, really understanding people.
And our mission, it's pretty precise. We want to analyze the source material carefully, look at the theory, sure, but also the practical side.
How you can actually use this stuff. Accuracy is key. Real-world application.
Mm-hmm.
We want to give you tools you can use, like tomorrow.
And we're drawing from some incredible expertise. I mean, think about it, a former FBI agent, 25 years.
Dealing with spies, adversaries.
Yeah.
High-stakes stuff.
Exactly. And now he's a world-renowned body language expert, so we're going to unpack his insights.
Make it clear how it works and why it matters for, everyone listening.
Right.
So maybe give us a quick roadmap. What are the key themes we're going to be pulling out?
Okay, so we'll focus on a few core areas, all practical stuff. First, nonverbal communication. Those signals we often miss but carry so much weight.
Okay.
Second, confidence. It seems like this magic thing, but actually it can be trained. We'll look at how.
Interesting.
Then there's the science of synchrony, that mirroring thing that builds connection.
Rapport building.
Exactly. And importantly, how body language really plays out in different situations. Negotiations, leadership.
Even spotting deception?
Potentially, yeah. Recognizing when things feel off. And underlying all this, self-awareness and just, paying attention, observation.
Okay, let's dive right in then. Decoding nonverbals. You mentioned facial cues are big for Navarro.
Huge.
What are some key things we can look for? Like, immediately.
Okay, one easy one to spot is eyebrow movement. If you're explaining something, maybe something complex, and you see the other person kind of push their eyebrows together, that little furrow right between the brows, that's often a sign they're not quite getting it, misunderstanding.
So like a silent,
Pretty much. It's your cue to maybe pause, rephrase, before you lose them completely.
That's really useful. What else on the face?
Lips. Watch the lips. If someone feels displeasure, you might see their lips tighten up.
Tighten.
Yeah, almost like the blood drains a little. It can be super quick, subtle. You got to be observant.
And these aren't things people are trying to do, are they? They're more automatic.
Mostly, yes. He talks about evolutionary roots for some of these.
Like what? Give us an example.
Well, think about covering the mouth. Sometimes we do it consciously, sure, if we say something wrong.
Right.
But the instinct might go way back. Ancestors hiding their breath from predators, maybe? It's deep-seated.
Wow.
Or freezing. You hear a loud bang and just stop.
Yeah, that freeze response?
That's a heuristic. A mental shortcut from evolution. Freeze, be less visible to danger. It still happens, even when there's no real predator.
So understanding these primal things, how does that help us day to day? Why care about ancient mouth covering?
Because it lets you read situations faster, deeper. You spot these cues, understand the potential why behind them.
And that gives you an advantage.
A huge advantage. You perceive things others miss. Navarro basically says his life's work is teaching this kind of knowledge.
Stuff others don't have time to learn.
Exactly. Giving you the tools to read people, read circumstances quicker, more effectively.
It's like unlocking a hidden channel of communication. He says you can perceive things ahead of time. How might that work, practically?
Okay, imagine you're pitching an idea. You're talking.
Yeah.
And you notice a colleague kind of shift, cross their arms maybe, lean back a bit.
Even if you're nodding along.
Right. That nonverbal could signal skepticism, resistance brewing. If you spot that before they say anything,
You can address it.
you could address potential objections proactively. It's an early warning. And he stresses, don't just focus on one gesture. Look at the whole picture, face, shoulders, hands, all at once.
Makes sense. Okay, moving to more direct applications. How can we use this for ourselves? Understanding our own body language, maybe?
Oh, definitely. Self-assessment is huge. Start noticing your own physical tells.
Like what?
Maybe your stomach tightens when you're anxious, or your shoulders tense up when you get frustrated. Recognizing those personal triggers helps you manage your emotions better. That's step one towards, self-mastery.
And using it with others. He mentioned kids.
Yeah, posture is massive with kids. Think about standing over them like a drill sergeant
Intimidating.
versus getting down closer to their level, angling your body, tilting your head slightly.
What does the head tilt do?
It signals relaxation, openness. I'm listening makes them feel safer, more likely to open up.
Such a small thing, that head tilt. Big impact, potentially.
It really can be. It encourages more FaceTime, makes you seem approachable, receptive.
So good for building rapport quickly.
Definitely. And conversely, in a negotiation, you can use nonverbal strategically, like consciously slowing down your speech.
How does that help?
It can project control, authority, influence how they perceive you, takes charge of the pacing.
Interesting. Beyond these signals, how does body language help us understand what people really need or fear?
Right, because often what people say isn't the whole story. Navarro emphasizes that underneath arguments are basic needs, wants, desires.
It fears.
And fear. The brain recognizes fear very powerfully. If you can pick up non-verbally that someone's operating from fear.
Even if they say it's something else.
Exactly. Maybe they're resisting change at work, saying it's illogical, but their body language screams fear, fear of failure, fear of job loss.
Recognizing that helps you address the real issue.
Precisely. You tailor your communication to that underlying fear. Much more effective.
Which brings us to his FBI days. Espionage.
Yeah.
How do these subtle cues work in those, well, extreme situations? What's a key takeaway for us regular folks?
I think the biggest takeaway is the absolute necessity of meticulous observation.
Just paying attention?
Really paying attention. In counterintelligence, tiny details matter. He tells the story of catching Rod Ramsey, a traitor. Not some big dramatic confession. It was the slight tremor in his hand, his cigarette shaking, when a particular name was mentioned.
Wow. Just that.
That tiny cue was the crack that opened everything up. It showed guilt. And Ramsey had compromised nuclear codes. Huge stakes.
That's chilling. It really shows the power of noticing the small things.
It does. For us, it means training ourselves to see those micro expressions, the tiny shifts, the gestures others might ignore.
He had another story, didn't he? About flowers.
Ah, yes. Catching an illegal spy because of how he carried flowers?
How so?
Bouquet down, apparently common in Eastern Europe, instead of bouquet up, the typical American way.
So it was out of place.
Exactly. It illustrates the importance of context and baselines. What's normal behavior here for this person or culture?
So you need to know what's typical to spot what's not.
Right. Establish that baseline for people you interact with, then deviations pop out.
These FBI stories really drive home the value of observation.
Oh.
Okay, let's switch slightly. Synchrony equals harmony. What does that mean?
Synchrony is basically that nonverbal mirroring that happens when people click.
Like subconsciously.
Often, yeah. You feel connected to someone. You might notice you're both using similar gestures, leaning in together. Maybe even your speech rhythms match up.
It creates a good feeling.
Harmony, understanding, and you can encourage it. Subtly mirror their posture, their hand movements, tone.
But don't be obvious about it.
No, definitely not. That's creepy. It has to feel natural. But when it works, communication flows better, people are more receptive.
He also mentioned mirroring language, not just body language. Why is that important?
It's powerful because it shows you're really listening, understanding them on their terms.
How so?
If someone keeps saying challenge, use the word challenge back. Don't switch to problem or issue.
Use their exact words.
Yeah, it signals you're on the same page, you get their perspective, builds connection.
And emotions.
Yeah.
We evolved to deal with them, he says. How does that help in, say, conflicts?
Well, you can't ignore emotions, right? Especially negative ones. Frustration, anger, they hijack thinking.
So you have to deal with the emotion first.
Pretty much. If someone's upset, acknowledge it. Address it before you try to push forward with business. Ignoring it just builds resistance.
How do you address it?
Sometimes just acknowledging it helps. He also mentions storytelling as a way to process negative stuff, build empathy.
Okay, let's get specific again. Some more signals. Eyebrow knitting, we said doubt, confusion. What about touching the eyelids? Is that lying?
Navarro's view on that shifted. It can happen with bad news, like a brief eye cover. But more often, he now thinks facial touching, including the eyes, is self-soothing.
Comforting ourselves.
Yeah. Touching those nerves provides comfort under stress. Even blind kids do it, apparently, having never seen it. So, likely ingrained. Indicates discomfort, probably not deception itself.
Good distinction. Lips, the emotional seismograph. What are the key lip cues?
Watch fullness and color. Comfortable, confident. Lips are usually fuller, normal color.
And stressed.
They might get thinner, lose color, blood flow changes. Or you see tightening, biting, picking, all signs of tension, anxiety.
Noticing that gives you insight into their real state.
Early insight, yeah. Lets you adjust.
What about jaw shifts? Like a little sideways movement.
That can signal disagreement, or the brain trying to kind of push away, disengage from what's being said, like a nonverbal nope.
Subtle resistance.
Could be, especially if they don't want to say it out loud.
Okay, the suprasternal notch. That dip at the base of the neck, he called it a secret weapon. Why so dramatic?
Because it's such a vulnerable spot biologically.
Of the throat area.
So when people feel insecure, scared, lack confidence, they often instinctively touch or cover it. It's a primitive, protective move.
Like guarding against attack.
Exactly. So noticing that gesture can be a strong clue about their insecurity, and conversely, consciously not touching your own neck can project more confidence.
Avoid signaling weakness. What about head covering? Similar idea.
Very similar. Raising a hand towards the head, even slightly, often an instinctive reaction to shock, distress, feeling overwhelmed.
Protecting the head.
Another primal protective response, seeing it suggests the person feels intensely threatened or uncomfortable.
Okay, let's pivot to negotiation. FBI strategies. He defines negotiation simply as effective communication with a purpose.
Right. The core idea for you is it's not just haggling, it's about clear, purposeful communication to get somewhere.
He mentioned an FBI principle about interviews.
Yeah, the goal isn't just the confession, it's sustained face time. Keep them talking. The more communication, the more info, the better the chance of success.
And that applies to negotiation.
Directly.
Okay.
Create an environment where they feel comfortable talking to you. That's step one.
So preparation is vital for that. What prep does he stress?
Homework. Know who you're dealing with before you sit down.
Yeah.
Their style, aggressive, collaborative, detail-focused.
Anticipate their approach.
Yes. And know your own stuff. What's your goal? What's your absolute bottom line, your walkaway point? What are your alternatives if there's no deal? Be clear on that.
What if you walk in and the other side is just super aggressive from the get-go?
Don't bite. Don't match their aggression. That's his key advice. Instead, control the tempo.
Slow it down.
Exactly. Slow the pace. Use pauses. Ask clarifying questions. Maybe use visual aids. Disrupt their momentum. Establish your own pace. Calmness can be a weapon.
And defining your goal beforehand seems basic, but why is it critical?
Because it's easy to get lost in the back and forth. Lose sight of what you actually need. A clear goal keeps you focused, gives you a benchmark for evaluating offers.
Makes sense. And if you're negotiating as a team, how can nonverbals help the team?
Oh, lots of ways. Little signals make a big difference. If your teammate is talking, look at them. Show support, unity. Emphasizes their point.
What else?
The steeple gesture, fingertips together, shows confidence. But use it sparingly for impact. And don't just sit there stone-faced. That seems threatening. Show engagement non-verbally.
Even the room setup matters. Who enters first? Seating.
He thinks so. Controlling the negotiation theater, as you put it. Who enters first can set a subtle power dynamic.
And chair height.
Yeah, even small differences can matter psychologically. He admitted adjusting his chair slightly higher sometimes to project a bit more control. It's about using all the elements.
He connects this to archetypes, like the father figure, using Stockholm Syndrome as an example. That seems like a leap. How did that apply?
It's about the psychology of control and dependency. In Stockholm Syndrome, captors providing basics can trigger that archetype.
So, in negotiation?
Even small things, like offering a drink, controlling the agenda, can subtly position you as dominant, like that provider figure. Understanding this helps you recognize the dynamic and avoid being put in the subservient role yourself. Assert equality.
Interesting psychology. Okay, shifting again. Height, posture, territory, that height dividend.
Right.
What's the practical takeaway?
Well, statistically, taller people often get perceived advantages. You can't change your height, right? But you can control your posture. Stand tall, shoulders back. That projects confidence. Slumping signals neediness. And be aware of height differences, like with chairs, how they might play psychologically.
And occupy your space.
Yeah, your territory. Own the space appropriate for your role. Don't shrink. But also, he notes, remember neurodiversity. Someone on the autism spectrum might have different posture norms. Don't misinterpret.
Good point. Confidence keeps coming up.
Yeah.
He says it's trainable. Where does someone start if they lack confidence?
Start small. Pick one thing, maybe a small skill, and get competent at it. Master that one thing.
Build from there.
Exactly. Success breeds confidence. It creates a foundation. He's not talking about faking it till you make it without substance. Real confidence comes from competence, knowledge, preparation.
So learn from confident people.
Observe them. What do they do? How do they speak? You can adopt some outward behaviors while building the inner substance.
What about voice? Any tips there for projecting confidence?
Yeah, voice control is powerful. Generally, a slightly deeper pitch sounds more authoritative. Avoid upspeak.
Where sentences sound like questions.
Right. Practice firm, declarative statements.
Wait.
Downward inflection, especially when saying no or setting boundaries. And cadence matters. Yeah, a deliberate rhythm can be very engaging. Think of great speakers. And use hand gestures open. Fingers spread shows caring. Closed, thumbs tucked can show fear.
Finally, rapport and first impressions, those first few seconds. How do we nail them?
Impressions form fast, so the initial approach matters. Not too aggressive, not too hesitant, genuine smile, good eye contact.
You mentioned the handshake analysis.
Right. Extending the hand promptly shows approachability. The handshake itself, firm, equal pressure, fingers down. Avoid weird styles, the bone crusher, the dead fish.
And stand until they sit.
Yeah, avoid towering over someone seated. It's a subtle power play. Also, maybe hold off on frantic note-taking right away. Prioritize that initial face-to-face connection. Human touch, eye contact, very primal needs.
Okay, last couple of points. Toxic leadership and self-mastery. What are nonverbal red flags in leaders?
Watch for those pacifying behaviors that signal discomfort, not confidence. Frequent neck touching, maybe facial crimping, tightening around eyes, mouth, rapid eye fluttering. These suggest underlying anxiety.
Things insecure followers might do more often.
Exactly. Not hallmarks of calm, confident leadership.
And self-mastery. What's the core message for listeners?
It's that exceptional people aren't just born that way, they're made. Self-mastery is about taking charge of your own learning.
Continuous improvement.
Yes. Relentless pursuit of knowledge, skill. Like historical figures, Edison, Alexander the Great. You seek it, you learn it, you apply it, that's yours forever.
So knowledge plus action.
And self-awareness, know your strengths, weaknesses, and observation, pay attention to people, opportunities, the nonverbals around you.
This has been incredibly insightful. Really practical ways to understand behavior and negotiation from Navarro's experience.
Absolutely. It comes down to observing accurately, understanding the why, and then consciously applying these ideas. These mind cuts can give you a genuine edge.
So a final thought for everyone listening. Next time you're talking to someone, pick one nonverbal cue we talked about. Maybe lip tightening, maybe posture. Just observe it. What might it really be telling you?
And think about self-mastery. How can you apply that constant learning, that keen observation in your own life starting today? Lots to think about.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.